My name is Joe Snell, and I'm the president and CEO of the Chamber of Southern Arizona. And we are delighted to have you here with us today for our first major event since the merger between the Tucson Metro Chamber and Sun Corridor just over 6 months ago. So this is the first gathering that we've had since that merger. So we're thrilled to have you today. We think it's going to be an exciting event. There's been a lot of movement since the merger. We're really excited about the new organization, and I won't get into it because that's probably for a different day, but I will tell you that we're putting a lot of calories in putting our plan together. You know, we're going to have three major focus areas for this new chamber. It's economic development is going to be a major focus for us. That is in our DNA. We've got to focus on jobs and the creation of opportunities for this region. So we're going to continue to do economic development. We are going to be a force in policy to ensure that we're competitive. And so we're going to do a lot in that area. We're going to look at bringing emerging leaders. We're going to revamp that program pretty quickly and make it a lot bigger than we've had. And then the most important, this is why we're here today, is we want to really support our small business community, our small business ecosystem. We're not about large or small, but it's really important. Most of the companies in the Tucson area and really in southern Arizona are under 150 employees, so we have to reflect that. One of the things we're doing right now is, rather than jumping too quickly, we're creating a small business council, but the most important thing we're doing is we're doing a listening tour. You're going to see us out there. We're coming to see you. We're inviting you in. We're doing a lot of listening to find out what you need so we don't just make assumptions when we create programs. But anyway, that's probably for a different day. We're excited with the new organization, delighted to have you here. And I want to extend a very special thank you to our sponsors this morning, our exhibitors, and again, all of you for making this possible. Before we begin the program, I'd like to take a moment to recognize today's major event sponsors, and we have two of them, starting with Wells Fargo. Thank you, Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is represented by Joshua Taylor. Joshua is the Commercial Relationship Manager at Wells Fargo. And in this role, Joshua oversees a portfolio of high-value clients, and they provide really tailored financial solutions and strategic guidance to support growth and long-term success. I believe I'm a client, so I appreciate the work you're doing. Thank you, Joshua, for your sponsorship. Appreciate it. The other major sponsor is Pima Community College, maybe one of the most important assets we have in this community to go compete. Dr. Ian Rourke is here today, and I'm going to introduce him in just a minute, so I'll come back to him. I'd also like to recognize several of our other sponsors. Our collaborator sponsors, there's a couple of them. Hughes Federal Credit Union, thank you very much, and Schnitzer Properties. We appreciate your sponsorship. Our educational sponsor, bear down, the University of Arizona, thank you. Appreciate that. That's great. And our advocate sponsor, TMC Health. Appreciate that. Thank you to all of your support. You saw some stuff rolling on the screen. It allows me to, I'd like to recognize all of the Chamber trustees and major investors. And we're not going to go through announcing them all. You've seen them on the screen, but I would like our trustees and our investors to stand as a group. There's going to be a lot of you, but if you would, I'd like to just acknowledge you. So thank you. Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize our elected officials that took time out of their schedule to be here today, and we have a couple. We have Tom Murphy, the mayor of the town of Sarita. Mayor, I saw you when I came in. And we have John Officer, council member of the town of Marana. John, are you here? Yeah. Thank you. And then finally, before I get too far, I want to thank the chamber staff who worked really hard to put this on today. And I'd like the chamber staff, can you stand? I'd like to actually thank you. Where are you guys? Thank you. Good job. So real quick, this year's program, really a first of its kind, is bringing together thought leaders who are shaping the future of business, technology, and innovation in southern Arizona. Today we're going to explore the possibilities of AI, look at new strategies for leadership, digital marketing. We're going to hear what the U of A is doing, Raytheon. There's just so much in the agenda that I think you're going to find it's very valuable. I would ask you to take a moment and scan the QR code on your table for the event program, and please complete the survey. We are a big believer in hearing feedback from you for what we did right and what we did wrong, because we are about continuous improvement. So please take the time to do it. Helps us a lot. Again, thank you to all of our speakers for sharing their insights. We hope you leave today with some very fresh ideas, new connections, and inspiration that you can take back to your organizations. So, on behalf of the chamber, I just think this is going to be a good deal. To get us started, though, I want to begin with our title sponsor, Pima Community College. I'd like you to please help me welcome Dr. Ian Rourke, who, if you saw the paper this morning, did you see the paper? I did. Ian, I think you have a new position. Well, Ian just recently was named Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Workforce Development for Pima Community College. Congratulations on that promotion. Ian is a great partner in the field. He's recognized internationally, nationally for his innovation and his workforce development. He's been honored with numerous awards. I won't name them all, Ian, but I know the Aspen Presidential Fellowship's one of the key ones, and it's very well earned. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Ian up to take it away, and we'll get launched with the program. Thank you, everybody.
Good morning. And Joe, it was very kind. Thank you for those kind words, but I really want to give a shout out to the individuals who really helped make that happen, and that's the members of our team at Pima Community College. We have a lot of our Pima Community College folks here. If you want to stand up quickly or just wave your arms so everybody knows who you are. They are amazing individuals and have really helped us move forward over this past decade to become a workforce development leader across southern Arizona and of course with national recognition. But it doesn't come without support and leadership from the top, and so I've seen one of our elected board members here this morning, so I'd like to give a particular shout out to board member Teresa Real. Teresa? And our Chancellor, Dr. Jeff Nassy, who sends his regards, and we are entering a new and exciting era of leadership, of merging academic affairs and workforce development under his leadership and support. So I'd like to give a shout out to our Chancellor and CEO, Dr. Jeff Nassy, who is out of state today. And a little bit of what you saw in the video really is the theme moving forward, is that whether it is a short-term certificate training program all the way up to the associate degrees that we offer, serving over 38,000 learners on an annual basis, and, by the way, going to launch our first bachelor's degree next fall, the fall of '26 in education, we will continue to approach all of our offerings in the context of serving our business and industry partners and also providing opportunities for upward mobility to all of our learners. Because whether it's about that adult education GED attainment, whether it is about a short-term training program, whether it's about transferring to the University of Arizona, our partner, It is really all about workforce development and providing those career opportunities for our learners, and I think that's what you saw reflected in the video. We continue to be proud title sponsors of this event, which used to be under the Tucson Metro Chamber, and we are so excited to be a part of the new organization, the Chamber of Southern Arizona. So thank you, Joe, and to all of your team for continuing to be great partners with us, and we look forward to working with you to continue to advance business growth and economic development across Southern Arizona. I have the privilege of introducing our first speaker this morning. I'd like to introduce Thomas Diaz de la Rubia, Senior Vice President for Research and Innovation at the University of Arizona, and his topic, University of Arizona Research That Shapes the Future. Tomas is a science and technology leader, strategist, and administrator with extensive experience in national laboratories, academia, and the private sector. He has served as the Deputy Director for Science and Technology and the Chief Research Officer at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, Director of Strategy and Operations and Energy Practice at Deloitte Consulting, Senior Vice President and Chief Scientific Officer, and they left off the rest of that page. Tomas, I'm going to go ahead and call you up now because we're missing the rest of the remarks. So thank you very much. Everybody, Tomas de la Rubia.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Bear down, right? The University of Arizona. So I'm delighted to be here. Joe and the Chamber, thank you so much for inviting me to speak this morning to this group. It's really exciting for me. I've been here 9 months. President Garimella has been here 10 months, and I think we're in a trajectory where one of the most important things that we're doing is reaching out to the community. We feel that the university, we're a land-grant university, the university has this role, has this duty to be part of the community, to help drive economic development, to help businesses succeed in the region, in the area. We're the University of Arizona. We serve the entire state, we serve the nation, we serve the world, and we do a lot of that through our research that shapes the future. And we're going to talk today a little bit about that. We're going to talk also about AI, what's going on with AI, what's the future of AI, how is it affecting all of us, but really in the context of where the university is at today and where we're going as a community, where we're going as an integral part of the community here in Southern Arizona. Let me start, I have several colleagues from the university sitting here also, and none of this happens without the incredible dedication and talent of all the faculty, the staff, the students at the university. This place is absolutely spectacularly strong. You all, I'm sure, are, and I know you are, incredibly proud of your university here in Tucson. This place has a DNA of research, of innovation, of discovery that is second to none around the world. And that's what I have found in the last few months I've been here. If you look at the university today, we are among the top 20 public universities in the nation. We do over $1 billion in research a year. Think about that. That's an incredible number. The economic engine that is driven by this research, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is tremendous. We are in the top 4% of all universities in the nation. This is a very, very selective club of universities that do over $1 billion a year. There's only like 30 across the entire country. Okay, and we're one of those. We're very proud of that. We have this long history in astronomy and astrophysics, in discovering space and flying cameras to Mars and to the moon and discovering new planets and discovering, supernova and studying black holes and all this fancy stuff. But we do all kinds of other things. We're top in the nation in earth sciences. We do energy research. We do research, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about that as we go along. We do research that shapes the future and that impacts our communities. If you look at, what the research, part of what it does for us is drive economic prosperity in the region, as I said before. Over the last decade, we've had over $1.6 billion in economic impact across the region. Over 150 startups that have come out of the university, from university intellectual property, from new ideas, new discoveries. Doug Hochstead is here today, right? He is the mastermind behind all of this. We're incredibly proud of how we're able to translate our discoveries into solutions that actually impact our communities, that impact society in positive ways through this commercialization of our technology. So it's not just sitting there in the ivory tower, writing about great thoughts that we have. It's really taking those thoughts, taking those discoveries, and translating them into impact in the community. That's the thought, that's the idea that I want to leave behind with you today, if nothing else, is we're here to work with you, to help your businesses, to help the community prosper, and continue to advance at the frontiers of technology and other fields. Now, we are Arizona's flagship land-grant university. And President Gary Mella, when he arrived, he convened the community, he convened both inside and outside the university, and he has set up the North Star for us going forward. You all know we've gone through a lot at the University of Arizona the last few years. It's time for change. It's time for new directions. It's time for a new focus. It's time for new strategies. It's time for really doubling down on our strengths and connecting, having partnerships that really drive prosperity in the region. So first and foremost, as a university, our number one imperative is student success. We owe it to our students, we owe it to our families to be one of the universities that has the best value in the nation for the students that want to come and study here, that provide outcomes that help students become the leaders, the people, the person that they want to be when they leave the university. That's our number one imperative, student success for every student that comes into the University of Arizona. As I said, research that shapes the future. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what drives economic prosperity and positive outcomes for our communities, and of course, community engagement. We're a land grant. We're not the University of Tucson. We're the University of Arizona. We work across the entire state. We bring our expertise in the agricultural fields, in engineering, across the board to help our communities do better and prosper. Now, how do we focus our research? Research is big. There's a lot of problems out there. So you have to think strategically about where do you want to go? And what is it that we as a community, as a society, face in the 21st century? We live in a planet that is environmentally not sustainable the way we're going today. No matter what you hear out there, climate change is real. We see it here in our community all the time. I go to Yuma, I talk to the farmers in Yuma, and I ask them about climate change. They say, of course, we feel it every year. We see the temperature change, we see the increases in temperature over time, and the impact that that has on our ability to do agriculture in places like Yuma. We also, as you know, just came out of a massive major pandemic around the world. Millions of people died of the pandemic. In fact, my mother was just diagnosed with COVID a few days ago, still here with us, okay? And also we see inequities, we see issues in society, we see threats to our democratic principles from around the world. All of these are challenges that we face as a society in the 21st century. We, through our research, want to leave a planet for the next generations that is better than the one we found. That's what we're about. We're about bringing technology, exponential advances in technology, science, research, the humanities, the social sciences, all together around this idea that by coming together and coming together with the community, we can actually prosper and we can leave behind a better planet for future generations. And we do that through the concept of convergence. You're always going to hear me talk a lot about convergence. What is that about? It's about bringing people across disciplines, across different ideas, bringing people with different notions of society, of how the world works, from the social sciences and the humanities and the arts and the engineers and the scientists and the astronomers and the community together to think about how do we ideate, how do we create solutions to these challenges that we face there that are stronger, bigger than the sum of the parts. You can only solve these wicked, difficult problems if you really, truly come together across all those traditional boundaries. We can no longer work on silos because of the magnitude of the issues that we face as a planet. So we gotta break those silos, and we're doing that strategically by focus on what we call strategic verticals. Okay, what are strategic verticals? They're not academic disciplines in the traditional sense of physics or biology or chemistry, what you study in school. They're topics that align with the challenges that we face. So we're focused on national security, we're focused on energy and environmental research, we're focused on the future of health, and we're focused on the human condition. How does all of this, which is where AI also comes in, how does all of this affect the human condition? Now, across all those verticals, right, we have to have a strong capabilities. We have to have, as a university, we have to be among the top 4% in the nation, right? We have to be among the top in the nation in space science, in AI and data, in public policy, in engineering, in physics, in chemistry, in biology, in the humanities, in the arts. So we have to strengthen our foundations so that we can provide solutions across those verticals that lead to new discoveries, that get translated into new solutions that impact society and create the workforce and the leaders of the future. So that's what we're about. If you want to capture, in a framework, how we are thinking, how President Garimella, myself, the leadership at the university are thinking about where we're going, this is how we're thinking about it, okay? So let's talk a little bit about AI, because, Joe and the chamber asked me to talk about AI today, AI tomorrow, what's the future of AI, because AI is impacting all of us in ways that we don't even honestly realize yet today. And it impacts, pervades everything that we at universities, that we in academia, that we in society do today, but even more so what we're going to do in the future. So today, you look at advances in AI, and really, AI is the confluence of bigger computers, more data, and algorithms that were developed 20, 30 years ago. AI today, those companies that are out there giving us ChatGPT and all this, is the result of decades of federal investment at universities and other places, right, that led to this confluence that I talk about, where people like Sam Altman at OpenAI were able very smartly to say, hey, I got all this, I got the computers, I got the data, I got the algorithms, I can bring all that together, create a company, and sell it to the world. AI is an innovation that is born out of decades of basic research and discovery in academia, in places like the University of Arizona and many others, that has led to the growth of AI. Now, it already outperforms humans in many aspects of life, but always in very narrow tasks, right? AI doesn't think for you. AI does a very quick search through the web, and it gives you information that you can use. It's very good at data sorting, but it doesn't have empathy, okay? It doesn't have the ability to think the way you do, okay? So it's not smarter than us in a holistic sense. That's the message. People worry about this, right? Is AI going to outsmart us? No, it's not. And we'll talk about the future at the end of the talk. Where is AI going? Where is it going today? But today it's already transforming industries across the board, right? You look at manufacturing, you look at agriculture. I talked about Yuma before. When I went there the first time, I was blown away. I didn't know, coming from other part of the country, that Yuma produces 90% of all the leafy green vegetables that we consume in North America between the months of October and May. And how do they do that in the desert? They do it through tech. They do it through advanced technologies. They do it through using massive amounts of data and AI to improve the way they produce crops. It's really astonishing. It's a great example of how AI and data are already having a huge positive impact on our ability to feed ourselves. AI is critical to the future of sustainable mining, another big industry here in the state of Arizona, right? AI is allowing mining companies to provide autonomous approaches, autonomous vehicles, autonomous mining operations, using big data, using artificial intelligence to improve the sustainability and reduce the environmental impact of mining operations across the board. And it's having a tremendous impact on healthcare. And I'll talk about this a little bit more in a couple of minutes. I want to emphasize the healthcare part. And AI is also having a major impact in aerospace and defense. So across the board, no matter where you look, right, artificial intelligence is already impacting all our industries in major and very positive ways. Now, around all of this, at the university, we've created a series of strategic initiatives. So President Garimel and I, when we first started, we talked to AWORD, to the Board of Regents, and we said, okay, given all these challenges and given AI and given everything that is going out there, how do we focus ourselves? So we don't try to boil the ocean, but rather say we're going to focus on these areas and provide solutions that truly impact communities and society in positive ways. And we look at the university's strength in space, in astronomy, and we said, look, and I remember I talked to you about we live in a dangerous neighborhood. And the most dangerous neighborhood today is up in space. Because we have assets, we have satellites that control everything that we do, communications, banking, you name it, computers, data, everything starts in space today. Okay? And if an adversary wants to go to war against us, the first thing they're going to do is take us out in space. But they're going to try. So we said, hey, there's an imperative for us with our expertise in space science to work with the Department of Defense, to work with our soldiers, airmen, marine, guardians, and help protect the nation, help protect our assets in space. So that's a big initiative for us. We're focused on that Venn diagram, the confluence of space and national security. We also look at the question of energy. We said, okay, we need more energy. We have data. We're talking about AI. We need more data centers, right? We know we need more data centers. We know it's difficult to build data centers in some communities. That's an understatement. But we know we need them. We need power. And we need to be able to provide more water. Why are we not able to have all the water we need? Because it's very difficult to clean up water. It's very difficult to desalinate water. It takes a lot of energy. So it's all tied together. So how do we move from a mentality of energy scarcity, where we know we don't have enough, okay, to a mentality of energy abundance, where we don't have to worry about it? What's that energy source that changed our mentality as a planet from energy scarcity? Remember, there's about 1 billion people around the planet that don't have access to electricity on a regular basis, that live in energy poverty. 1 billion people. We have problems here, but think about that for a second. How do we go from that world to a world of energy abundance? The answer is partly solar and wind and everything else, but the ultimate answer is the energy that powers the stars. Fusion energy is the energy that is created when hydrogen atoms from water get fused together and release vast amount of energy. That's what happens in the sun. That's what we want to do here on Earth. That's what the University of Arizona is involved with. It's the future of energy. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. And it's just starting right now. The scientific breakthroughs are there. Now it's a matter of bringing in the engineering, the technology, the companies, the private sector, the federal government, the communities, towards creating this industry of the future. Our goal is to make Southern Arizona, Tucson, the state of Arizona, home to the first fusion commercial power plant. Now that's very ambitious, but think about that. If we're at the birth of this industry, right, we can drive economic prosperity for the entire state and for the nation and for the world in the future. So that's another one of our initiatives. We're also focused, of course, on mining. Again, as I said, mining is a big industry in the state. We're one of the largest copper producer. These are critical minerals. Today, critical minerals and rare earths, these elements that are used in every electronic component that we use, in every F-35, in every F-15, in every military system, in every commercial microelectronic system, those materials come from China. Now think about that for a second. We have a dangerous neighborhood. We have an adversary, a peer adversary, who wants nothing more than to take away our freedoms, our liberties, right? Autocratic, authoritarian regime, communist regime, okay, that wants to go to war, and we're getting all the materials that protect us and that advance our economy from them. We have to change that. We have to reverse that supply chain. We have to bring that supply chain, that industry, back to the United States, back to Arizona. We have to be able to extract these critical minerals and these rare earths, lithium and everything else here in the United States. The administration is very focused on that. The The university is laser focused on working with the mining industry and with the Department of Energy, the Department of Defense, to bring that industry back to the United States. And then finally, AI and health. And I'm going to wrap up with this because we talk about AI, we talk about the present of AI, and why AI and health, okay? AI is having a tremendous impact on the healthcare system across the board. This year, the Nobel Prize in medicine was given to two scientists from Google, of all places. Why? Because they were able, using artificial intelligence, to predict the structure of a protein for the first time. Now, what does that mean? You know, protein is this chemical that if you're able to predict its structure, you can design molecules that target that protein and cure disease. It's the first step in creating a new therapeutic to cure a particular disease. Fundamental, absolutely essential. They were able, for the first time, using artificial intelligence, to predict the structure of proteins. That's a huge, they won the Nobel Prize. That's the kind of impact that AI is having on the discovery side already. If you go forward from that, AI is already helping optimize clinical trials by using personalized genomics, right, to identify best candidates for clinical trials for a particular drug, for a particular condition, for a particular genetic disease. AI is having huge impacts already in personalized medicine, in the ability to bring medicine to the people as opposed to the people going to where the medicine is. What's that doing? That's reducing health disparities across the board. If you live in a rural community, in a tribal nation far away, and you have to go to the doctor because you're sick, that's hard, because it's very far away. If you're able to bring AI and telemedicine to the community, you bring in the doctor to the community. That's how you eliminate and reduce health disparities. And that's where AI is already having a tremendous impact. We're funding several projects along these lines inside the university today through something we call the Big Idea Challenge. Okay? It's really, really exciting. I think we're going to see progress that's just tremendous. It's going to reduce healthcare costs by optimizing healthcare records management, by optimizing diagnostics. AI, machine learning, are already having a huge impact on the way we do diagnostics for cancer, for example, from imaging. Okay? You know that if you look at a radiograph from some imaging, CAT scan or MRI or something, the doctor looks at it and it's about a 50-50 chance that they'll identify something. It's really roughly about 50-50. With machine learning and artificial intelligence, you can optimize those odds to identify very early on, right, signatures in the imaging, right, that will help you fight that disease much better, much more efficiently. So the promise is tremendous. That's why we're laser focused on AI and the future of health. We have two medical schools, one in Tucson, one in Phoenix. We have pharmacy. We have all kinds of academic health research, partnered with Banner to provide care for the community. We are at the frontiers of biomedical research. Bringing artificial intelligence into this is really going to put the university really on the leading edge, and the community on the leading edge of future solutions for healthcare that completely transform the way we think about it in the next 5-10 years. So we're doing AI with a purpose, right? We're doing at the university, we just hired our first, and we're one of the very few universities in the nation that has hired the first chief artificial intelligence officer. We brought Dr. David Ebert, was at Purdue University, where President Gary Mellon and I were a few years ago, and he was at the University of Oklahoma with me. So you missed that part of my CV. I was at Purdue University. Then I was at the University of Oklahoma. David Ebert, Dr. Ebert was at those same places with me, and now he's here as our chief AI officer. And he is the one that is leading the AI roadmap for the university. And as he says, this is from him, it's AI with a purpose. It's ethical AI that is transparent, that is explainable, that is trusted by the people who are going to use it to make decisions. Okay? It's embedding ethics into the way we think about AI. Because like with every technology, right, there is a yin and there's a yang. There's a good and there's a bad. If you're not careful, right, AI can get you the wrong way. You can have answers, you can have solutions that cannot be trusted, that perhaps are not ethical. I'll tell you a quick story. There's a book called Army of None. Essentially, it's about robotic warfare. It was published about 5 years ago by a former Marine, Paul Shar is his name. It's a great book, But the interesting thing about the book is the preface. Paul, talks about something that happened to him in Afghanistan when he was with a Marine platoon at the top of a hill watching a village in which they knew there were terrorists coming in and out. And they went up the hill at night. They were sitting there. The task was to watch the roads and watch who was coming in and out of the village. And as the sun came up, a 10-year-old girl left the village and started walking towards their position up at the hill. And they were watching her, right? 10 years old. And they had a decision to make because as they were watching her, they realized that she had a radio and that she was relaying their position back to the village. And they had a decision, the platoon commander had a decision to make. She was, at that point, the 10-year-old girl was a combatant. And the decision was, do we shoot her or do we walk away and come back another day? And his point was, if an AI had been the platoon commander, the AI would have recognized the girl as a combatant and would have shot the girl. The Marine, being a human, said, oh no, we're walking down, we'll come back another day. So that's where you have to really think about, how do you use artificial intelligence? Where is the human in the loop? There's always has to be a human in the loop. Otherwise, you can go down ethical paths that are completely against our morals, against our values. I'm here to tell you that we have adversaries who do not have those ethics. And that's one of the challenges we face going forward with AI. Anyway, so what's the future? What is AI tomorrow? And I'll just finish with this. I think you can expect that we're going to have a modernized infrastructure that ensures the scalability and sustainability of AI that is going to bring us closer to artificial general intelligence. What's that? People talk about this a lot. Artificial general intelligence is when an AI is capable to think and to rationalize and to empathize in ways that we humans are able to, and beyond that. Now, are we going to get there? Not in the next 5-10 years, not even close. Okay? The fact of the matter is, folks, AI is pretty primitive. I mean, it's very impactful, but it still today is rather primitive. However, those of you who have young kids or grandkids, they're going to be AI natives, right? I consider myself a calculator native, right? When I was a kid, my dad came home with a calculator, right? And, I'm a calculator native. Some younger people are computer natives, right? Some internet natives. The future generation, they're going to be AI natives, okay? They are born with it. It's not going away. They're going to use it, they're going to embrace it. We, as a university, that's why we hired the chief AI officer. We have to be able to understand how we're going to use AI, not just in research, but in academics, in teaching, in learning, right? How do we bring these AI systems that will be more efficient, more accurate, and more transparent into everything that we do, again, in an ethical way that everybody can trust. We have to have a culture going forward that values the responsible use of AI. That's why I gave you that example, right? Always a human in the loop. So I think ultimately you're going to see continued advances in our ability to strengthen those AI models, to have better algorithms, to have more efficient algorithms that are going to require less power, that are going to require less water. But we're not anywhere close to that point where AI is going to think for us. Not even close. That's a message I want to leave you with because I know a lot of people worry about this. Are we going to stop thinking? I can just go on ChatGPT and, I don't need to think about anything. The fact is, your empathy, your emotions, your ability to make decisions with multiple inputs, consider things that, like the platoon leader did, that an AI could not. That's what makes the difference. That's what keeps us human. That's what keeps AI in the computer. So yes, let's embrace AI. Let's embrace the ethical, transparent uses of AI. Let's move forward. Let's bring it to our industries. Let's bring it to our communities. But at the same time, let's do it in a way that we don't forget our nature as humans, our values, our morals, our ethics, and bring that along, and we'll conquer and we'll go incredibly far in solving those grand challenges that we face and leaving a better planet behind for the next generation. So thank you all so much. Appreciate it. And if we have time, happy to take any questions. Do we have a minute or two? If there's any questions out there. Thanks. Oh, was there a question? Sorry. Okay. No, I don't think so. Look, I mean, I think ultimately, yes. I mean, there will be cases and there will be societies that don't, as I said before, don't have the same ethical values we do. I do believe very strongly that we always have to maintain the human in the loop. And there's some societies that do not believe that. Really, for me, where it manifests very clearly is in the future of war. And that's why I gave you that example before. Even if an adversary wants to use AI in an unethical, what for us is an unethical way, which for us may be okay, we cannot fall down to that. And we will have the assets. By being able to have the human in the loop, we'll be smarter than that AI. Okay, that's how I think about it. Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the meeting. Thanks.
Let's give Tomas another round of applause. That was fascinating. And I feel bad. He invited me to the University of Arizona football game a couple weeks ago, and then I go and mess up his bio. I really apologize for that. The chamber staff did not get it wrong. I did. In my continued resistance to move over to progressive lenses, I was not able to correctly read. So my AI model said, Scott, I have about an 80% chance of getting your bio 100% correct. All right, with that, Scott, I would like to introduce Scott McCain, the author and CEO of the Distinction Group and his presentation on AI-driven leadership, thriving in turbulent times. Scott McCain is a globally recognized business leader, author, and speaker with over 3 decades of experience helping organizations create distinction and deliver on the ultimate customer experience. He is the founder of a consulting and training company focused on client retention, revenue growth, and customer engagement. Scott is the author of 4 business bestsellers, and he has spoken to the world's most influential corporations in all 50 states and across 17 countries, from the White House to international conferences in Dubai, Singapore, and Sweden. Let's go ahead and welcome Scott to the stage.
Hey, just out of curiosity, how many of you were here last year for my speech last year? Wow. How many were not here last year? Wow. How many of you can't remember where you were this time? Okay, good. One of the things I always notice is some of us are turned kind of backwards in our chairs. It's a little uncomfortable. After that incredible presentation about AI in the future, I think we all need some good words at this point. So let's give everybody a chance to stand up for a moment, if you would, please. You can turn your chairs towards the front if you're positioned kind of awkwardly. But while you're standing, shake hands or fist bump or high five the people at your table and say, "You never looked better in your life." Would you do that to start us off? That's great. Thank you. Have a seat. We'll get started. And what an extraordinary presentation to start our day. Doctor, I thank you so much for your presentation on AI that you just concluded. And I'm from Indiana originally. I met Mitch Daniels when I was 18 years old. He's been a friend ever since. And so I love how you talked about land-grant universities as well. So that's spectacular. I bring you greetings from my hometown, Crothersville, Indiana. Population 1,500, never changes size every time a baby's born, a man leaves town. That's not why I'm here. But I grew up in rural America, and when you were saying that the next generation is going to be so AI driven, my buddy who runs a consulting firm in Austin, Texas, one of the things that his research says, and I love this line, he says, it's only a change if you remember what came before. Only a change if you remember what came before. Now, here's what our research is showing with the new book that I'm writing, and it's coming out in February, and that is it's not just change anymore. Here's an exercise we did last year. Let's do it again because it makes the point. Fold your arms for just a second. Everybody just fold your arms. Look down, see which arm you have on top. Don't do it yet, but on count of 3, please reposition your arms so the other arm is on top. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Looks like a room full of folks calling a legal procedure there, doesn't it? Psychologists would tell us that for 62% of the people in the room right now, this is the first time in your life that you've ever sat with the other arm on top. We are such creatures of habit. We fold our arms the same way all the time without considering it. And think about this for a second. I said reposition your arms so the other arm's on top. To do that, you only move one arm. What everybody? All right, let's see here. Wait a minute. Right, it was difficult because it was change. Yet here's the important point. Change was knowing where we were going or what we were doing. You just had to execute it. You knew what was going to happen next. The other arm was going to be on top. That's why I think the situation that businesses and leaders are facing today is not just change anymore, it is turbulence. Because turbulence is often unpredictable. Turbulence is often unexpected. Turbulence can vary to a great degree how severe it might be. What's creating turbulence in the world today? First, it's happening with unprecedented speed. Changes that once took years now happen in weeks because of what we've gone through and been through. For those of you that follow this AI stories, DeepSeek coming out, we had a company, NVIDIA, that lost the market capitalization in one day of the major automobile manufacturers combined. That's how rapid change is happening today. Unpredictable direction. It can come from previously unrelated industries. What industry, what business might disrupt your business? You don't know right now because of the turbulence that's happening in the marketplace. I'm sure that Rolex was focused on the competition being Patek Philippe, for example, not the Apple Watch. They didn't consider Apple to be a competitor yet. This has stolen so much of the wearable timepiece marketplace from traditional manufacturers. So that's turbulence that's happening in the world of business today. Other areas that's creating turbulence is simultaneous disruptions. It's not an individual thing, it's simultaneous. Multiple fundamental shifts are now occurring concurrently. Consider that in 2020, we had a global pandemic, we had everything that was happening with social upheaval following the George Floyd situation, rapid digital transformation brought about by the need for remote work. All of that was happening at the same time, and this has an exponential impact. The effects compound and accelerate rather than stabilize. AI adoption, that we've heard so much about already this morning, is creating something pretty powerful, and that's uncertainty in the job market. As I speak to corporate organizations, one of the things I keep hearing from team members is, will my position be eliminated because of AI? There's anxiety in the workplace, and that creates challenges of its own. So here's the question for all of us here today. How do you deal with such unrelenting turbulence in your business and in our world? That's what we have to focus on. By the way, success in the future might be a little bit more challenging because in 5 years or less, depending on what study you look at, artificial intelligence will be able to analyze data more rapidly than humans, write code more effectively than most programmers, and create presentations better than most consultants. I read an article this morning about how many men are going to AI to be a marriage counselor. That is not a good idea. You know, I mean, it's a terrible idea. When I got down on my knee to ask my wife to marry me, I did not say, honey, would you please be my wife? You're exactly like every other woman I ever dated. That's not a good proposal. But yet what happens is AI takes information that is gained from the past and uses it to employ for the future, as we've heard. One of the challenges the article said is that AI takes the side of the person whose input they have, for it always, as it's quote unquote counseling, always favoring the person asking the questions. In other words, it's somebody else's fault, not yours, as it's using this. My buddy Joe Calloway has a great line. He says, success means we know what used to work. It doesn't mean that we know what's going to be happening for the future. But I love this from Tyson, who says, to soar towards what's possible, you got to leave behind what's comfortable. This discomfort that you had when you folded your arms the other way, that's part of the discomfort that we're going to have in the future because of what's happening. We heard it expressed already brilliantly, but let me emphasize. Here's what I believe that AI cannot do and can never do. It can make somebody feel good or truly understood in a moment of vulnerability. It's exactly what we've heard today about the importance of the human element. And I think it's important to understand that's our competitive advantage as leaders, is bringing the human element. One of the things I've got in my next book coming out is that I work with too many organizations that see AI as becoming like corporate Manjaro, corporate Ozempic, right? Give me a shot of this and I can let go of so many people and reduce my overhead. And I think that's bad management, bad leadership. Let's let AI take the repetitive tasks that it can be used to replace, to give the people we have more time to get closer to our customers and provide a more extraordinary experience. It's about getting back to our core values. And by the way, if you haven't talked about core values in your organization, or if they aren't a living, breathing aspect, I work with groups that have their core values on the wall and never talk about them with their team. That's part of how we transcend the turbulence that's going on in the marketplace. So I believe that there are 4 cornerstones of how we transcend this turbulence in an AI crazy world today. And this is how to lead and succeed in this turbulent war of time. Here's the first one. Your first cornerstone in this AI transformed world is to have visionary clarity. I used to say it was about clarity. Clarity is required. You know, how do you get a goal that you don't know what it is? How do we achieve something that we don't have delineated as being an important part of the achievement? But we need a new mindset, because clarity means that we're clear about where we are and what we are not right now. And that's excellent. We all need that. But visionary clarity means we take a look at all of the things that we understand about what the future could be and have a vision for what is our potential. What could we become? What could we achieve? That's what clarity means. We're clear not only about what we are now, but visionary clarity means we examine what we could be for the future. The problem is, it's not easy to do. We were mentioning earlier about Springfield, Illinois. In the early days of my career, I'm just trying to build my small business, and I get a call, and they said, Scott, we'd like for you to speak for a group in Springfield, Illinois. Now, here's what makes this unique. There's only going to be 10 people in the audience, and they're going to be sitting in a horseshoe, and your challenge is to walk into the middle of this horseshoe and give a 60-minute speech to 10 people. Oh, by the way, you're going to do it for free. Well, that's a good marketing strategy right there, right? But what I found out was each of the 10 were responsible for the meetings of the individual insurance companies that they represented. There were over 100 potential opportunities to speak from the 10 people in the room. This could be a big break to launch my career. However, if I didn't do well, it could be an anchor that would hold my career back. So I'm living in Indianapolis at the time. I pack up one suit, one shirt, one pair of shoes, drive over to the Springfield, check in the hotel. As I'm unpacking, I realize I've made a horrible mistake. I have grabbed the wrong shirt. I meant to grab a regular white shirt that I'd wear with a tie. Instead, I grabbed the only white shirt I had that had French cuffs. And I could picture my cufflinks back on top of my dresser all the way back in Indianapolis. Now, you've seen me speak. I use my hands too much. Could you imagine me in the center of 10 people? I make a gesture, my cuff slaps somebody in the face? That's bad. I have got to find cufflinks. I run downstairs to the hotel gift shop. It's closed. I run across the street to the Hilton. Their gift shop is closed. Go back over, grab a bellman. I said, man, I am absolutely desperate. I have a big speech tomorrow morning. I have got to find cufflinks. The bellman says at 9:30 on a Tuesday night in Springfield? He said, man, the only places I can think open till 10 are Walmart and Target. They're on the other end of town. You might make it. I jump in my car. I become a Formula One driver through the streets of Springfield, Illinois. I am squealing tires, running red lights. I pull up in front of Walmart. I dash into the Walmart. At this time, every Walmart had a wonderful person at the front. They called him the greeter, of course. Usually a wonderful senior citizen. This night, the guy no one else wanted to work with. I run in. He says, welcome to Walmart. Don't steal anything. I said, do you have cufflinks? You could tell he had never been asked this question before. His immediate professional response was, do what? I said, do you have cufflinks? He said, well, you might try with their jewelry. I sprint up the jewelry counter. The expression on their faces told me everything I needed to know about inventory. They do not sell cufflinks at Walmart. I run back out, squeal my tires. I dash into Target. They're making the announcement. It's 10 o'clock, Target shoppers. I catch the eye of a cashier. Out of breath, I pant. Cufflinks! She said, men's department. I sprint back to the men's department, skid up to the counter, adrenaline pumping, just totally out of breath. I should not have done it. I was too excited. I practically yelled at the poor woman behind the counter, do you have cufflinks? She said, no. I went, oh, no. She stopped me. She said, sir, really important. I said, yeah, I got a big speech tomorrow. She said, well, why don't you just buy another shirt? I became the guy from Walmart. Dude, what? You know, it never occurred to me to get a shirt. Have you ever done anything like that? Have we ever been so focused on the symptom we overlooked a solution? What visionary clarity is the ability not to major in minor things. It is taking the approach of not only what we are and are not currently, but what could we become. The second of the four is adaptive creativity. See, it's not enough just to be creative. It's one that adapts your vision as you transcend the turbulence. What's innovative today likely won't be tomorrow. So we have to continue to adapt and create and make that a constant function. If you're going down a river in a raft, you adapt and change based upon the conditions at that specific time. We don't let our commitment to clarity overwhelm the need to adjust and change and adapt along the way. Creativity grounded in clarity means we're focusing on what we can be, and we're focusing on our North Star, but simultaneously we realize that as we create, we have to adapt. If you were here last year, you heard me talk a little bit about my involvement with the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess. I've consulted and worked with Fairmont hotels all over the world, but the one in Scottsdale is just special. How many of you have been to? Many of you. Okay, so Jack Miller, who is the CEO of that particular group, asked me to get involved not long after he became the chief executive officer of this property. And so one of the things he said is, Scott, you've written books on creating distinction for your business. How do we become distinctive as a resort? Think about their competition there. I mean, whether it's the Phoenician or the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, that's a business with tough competition. So we realize that you don't create a distinctive business, you break it down into its parts and work on how do you make all of those parts stand out. What is a distinctive gift shop? What's distinctive housekeeping? How do we create that? And then the sum of that would create a distinctive resort. So we're talking about the check-in process. First impression that it's going to make. Now realize too that in business we tend to think like our business revolves around. In other words, they're thinking like hospitality people as we're talking about check-in. So you know what they said? They said, we'll stand out. We'll get more marble. We'll hang more chandeliers. We'll have a very opulent experience. Now, if you travel very much, you've seen chandeliers. You've seen marble. That would not, no matter how much there is, it would not make it unique. So then I asked a question that flipped the script. I said, if you've been gone and you've been traveling and you come home, what's the coolest part about coming home? And as you imagine, they said, I get to sleep in my own bed, I get a home-cooked meal, and then one woman said, my dog is so happy to see me when I get back home. And we talked about that for a little bit. It's true for me too. When I get back home from Tucson, my little dog Lucy is going to be so happy to see me. Maybe some of you have that same experience. So the Fairmont went out and got 2 golden retrievers. And when you check in at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess, these 2 golden retrievers, now there's the handler, and he's very good at observing and seeing, if you're comfortable with the dog. But the dogs come up to you, and their tails are wagging, and they are so excited to see you. But it's not just that as part of the first experience. How do we continue to extend that creativity? Well, the dogs are there in the lobby. If you're at an event there, and you're walking to the lobby, you're petting that dog. You're not walking by that dog, right? So that creativity is an important part. Now they even have trained the dogs to go with the bellman to pick up your luggage as you check it out, and now the dog's really sad. Please come back. But being a business, how do we adaptively, creatively make some money from this? So they created a book of stories about the 2 dogs that you can take home and give to your kids to tell them the story of Bixby and Gibbs, the hobby dogs at the Fairmont. Hey, let's make a little money from this as well. They now have stuffed plush toys in the gift shop of the dogs. Half of the convention attendees at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess will spend the money to buy a plush toy to take home to give the kids. But here's the unintended benefit of when you're adaptively creative. Parents go home all over the nation and tell their kids the story of the dogs in the lobby. And today, unlike when I grew up, parents ask their kids where they'd like to go on vacation. My dad said, get in the truck. But kids now are saying, I'd like to see the dogs at the hotel. And so the kids are bringing the parents for time at the resort. By the way, what season is school out of session? Summer. What time do people from out of state least want to come to Arizona? Summer. The occupancy rate has skyrocketed there as a result because now they have a new market of the kids bringing the parents there. That's being adaptively creative. But it starts with asking the kinds of questions of how do we become creative? What can we do? The third is transformative communication. How do we make our communication such that it transforms how people think and how people act and the approaches that they take? Transformative communication takes ideas either that we generate or that AI generates for us in our ongoing use of AI, but it turns those ideas into action. See, it's artificial intelligence, but it hasn't reached artificial wisdom. And all of us are looking for wisdom, for input, for ways that we can use the AI information and apply it so it creates an action, it creates a result, it makes a difference. So one of the questions that we could ask ourselves is, how do we communicate in a way that's transformative? Edit. Speech in New York City, and the first one was in Princeton, New Jersey, and the next one, the next day, was in New York City. And I grew up in a rural community. Now, I've lived in Los Angeles for a while. I've lived in other cities, lived in Las Vegas. But I love seeing different cities and experiencing it. And part of the way you do it is to drive. I had never driven in New York City before. And so for just once, I wanted to see what it was like to be a Manhattan rush hour commuter. I fly into Newark, I get a rental car from Hertz, I drive up and give my speech in Princeton. The next morning, I am a Manhattan commuter. I am driving into Midtown Manhattan. And I want to tell you, it's the most incredible rush hour I'd ever seen. Those people are amazing. How they can drive with their knees, drink their Starbucks, talk on their cell phone, and give me the finger all at the same time. Really impressive. I finally get to the building, take the elevator up. I park in their parking garage, take the elevator up, give them a speech. Great group of people. I take the elevator back down, pay the $300 to get out of the garage. And now I'm driving back to LaGuardia Airport to check in my Hertz rental car and fly back home. But as I'm driving, it's a beautiful day. The skyline of Manhattan is so phenomenal. And all of a sudden, the flatbed truck in front of me, even though traffic was wide open and moving, all of a sudden this guy just locks his brakes up. Bang! Rear end collision. My airbag goes off. I am sitting there absolutely stunned. Have you ever had something happen where you just kind of go into automatic pilot? I pry open the door of my rental car. I run up to see if the guy is okay. Turns out it was an insurance scam that he was doing at the time in his big flatbed truck causing rear-end collisions. I didn't know that, but he was fine. I go back, I find my iPhone under the deflated airbag. I call 911. Then I realize one more call I have to make. Every time you rent a car, on that ticket jacket it says, if you were in an accident, first call the police, then call Hertz. I got to call Hertz and tell them I've totaled the rental car. I've never had anything like this happen to me, but I'm still in kind of autopilot. I dial the number. She answers on the first ring. Hertz, how may I help you? Kind of robotically, I say I've been involved in an accident. I'm at this mile marker. The car needs to be towed away. I hope to get the transportation to the airport so I can make my flight home. She interrupts. She says, sir, you gave me the rental record number, so I have the information here. Mr. McCain? I said, yeah. She said, well, first of all, sir, are you all right? But I'm still on automatic pilot. Yeah, I'm fine, but I need a record at this location. I need to get a ride to the airport. I need to. She interrupts again. She says, sir, excuse me for saying this. You don't sound okay. Are you certain that you are all right? So for the first time since the accident, I took a deep breath and got my wits about me, my legs underneath me, and I said, ma'am, I'm very shook up, but I'm not injured. I am all right. She goes, that's great news, because you see, sir, Hertz can always get another car. We can never get another Mr. McCain. I didn't mean to hit him. Stopped, right? At that instant, I became a Hertz customer for life. I got one in the garage here. Avis is $1 cheaper. I don't care. That's transformative communication. She made a difference, not because of what AI might say, not because of it, because she connected on a personal, transformative level. By the way, since I started telling that story, I've had 6 other people come up to me who had wrecked a rental car from Hertz, and they said it was exactly the same. Are we educating? Are we working with our people so that they are conveying that kind of transformative communication? Not just when customers do exactly what we want them to do, but especially when the customer has an issue, has a problem, which leads us into 4th of the 4 cornerstones, which is customer evolution. By that, I mean, as we understand these changes in terms of AI, in terms of what's happening in the world, our customers are going to change as well. Our goal has to be to eliminate the friction points. Where are the points of friction between your situation and the customers? What can we do to eliminate customer friction? There's a real leader in this, and I had a strange thing happen. I got an email about 3 years ago from this guy that said, Scott, I read your books. I used it as the Bible to kind of establish my business, the principles of my business. I'd like for you to be on my podcast, but I also want you to know if there's anything that I can do for you, I'd be happy to do it. And I read it, and it was a business I'd heard a little bit about, but 3 years ago, the name of the business is the Savannah Bananas. And the message came from Jesse Cole. And if there's anybody that has thought about what it takes to deliver what your customer wants, even before they realize they want it, it's this one, because his whole philosophy is fans first. If you know much about the Savannah Bananas, you know that they entertain, But what they've also done is eliminate all of the friction that might happen. If you go to a Savannah Bananas game in Savannah, do you realize it's one price to get in? No, I'm not talking about like one price you buy a concert ticket. Your one price includes your parking. It includes the taxes on the ticket. It includes all you can eat and all you can drink at the game. So parents can take their kids and know this is the total amount I have to spend for a night at the ballpark. They entertain, but Jesse says we are not the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. I admire and respect the entertainment that they have brought, but their performances are scripted. We are actually playing the game, only with new rules that make it more fan-friendly. And I'm thrilled that Jesse has chosen to write the foreword for my new book that is coming out in February called Beyond Distinction. But his whole focus is on how do we create this incredible experience that puts fans first, customers first, and it proactively looks at where the friction is and tries to eliminate it even before the customer experiences it. I mean, I think about being in a restaurant, right? And have you ever had a restaurant and the meal isn't that great and the service is slow and the manager walks up and says, hey, how's your night? And most of the time, what do we say? Fine, okay, great, right? I think in business, fine is the F word when it comes to the customer experience, right? I don't want to hear fine. I don't want them to be moderate about it. I want them to be enthused about it. And so what we have to do is to eliminate that friction even before it occurs, to seek customer input and response, and to do the most we can to make certain the experiences we deliver are the ultimate. So the 4 cornerstones of visionary clarity, and then within that clarity that we see, we start creating and innovating, but we're willing to adapt as a part of that. And from there, we go into transformative communication that connects on an emotional level, even in an AI transformed world, which leads us to proactively understanding that customers' needs change and how can we eliminate the friction before it even occurs. What's next? I promise you the world will continue to change, but the direction that you take can and will make all the difference. Thank you for having me back again this year. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's an honor to represent Wells Fargo at the 2025 Southern Arizona Business Summit and Expo. Wells Fargo has been a proud sponsor of the Chamber for over 25 years now, and it was great to hear the speakers talk about the evolution of AI. I know that Wells Fargo is embracing AI in every corner of what we're doing nowadays, but the Stagecoach has a long history, as you know, and I'm happy that we have our own historian. It's kind of cool to work at a bank that has our own historian. So that historian shared with me that Wells Fargo's first branch was actually in Yuma before Arizona was even a state. We opened our first branch, Wells Fargo branch in Yuma in 1865. Today, Wells Fargo has over 153 branches across the state with financial professionals serving consumers and businesses at every stage of their financial journey. Several of these team members who serve our local community here are with us today, all the way from branch executives and managers up to commercial banking, where I sit, and investment services and mortgage. They're all here today. We would love for you to say hello, meet them. If they could stand up or wave their hand, they're over at these tables here. So let's give them a round of applause. Over the decades, Wells Fargo has grown alongside Arizona's communities, supporting local businesses, helping families thrive, and investing in the future of this incredible region. In 2024, in fact, Wells Fargo and the Wells Fargo Foundation contributed $6.6 million to support housing, small business, financial health, and other community needs right here in Arizona. Our employees across the state also volunteered more than 56,000 hours to their causes that affect them in their local communities. Serving Tucson business communities has been an amazing opportunity for me, and my family and I are proud to call Tucson our home. As Scott mentioned, he was talking about Springfield, Illinois. That's actually my hometown, so while you guys got to hear the story, I got to actually visualize him going through the streets of Springfield. My wife brought me from Chicago out to Arizona around 2013, and Phoenix was fine, I guess. But then she asked me to come down to Tucson, and I really fell in love with Tucson. Tucson is a unique and innovative city. It's a mecca of gastronomy, rich in art and tradition, and home to the world-class University of Arizona, of which I can proudly say I am an alum. With so many flavors and opportunities for inspiration, it's no wonder that Tucson and all of Southern Arizona continues to thrive and grow. Thank you for giving us, and thank you for giving Wells Fargo the opportunity to be a part of this growth. And I'd like to now introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker is Ron Cates, founding team and former global spokesperson for Constant Contact, and his presentation will be on digital marketing demystified. Ron is the former global spokesperson for Constant Contact, the leading email marketing service provider, internationally renowned for his marketing expertise. Forbes magazine calls him the digital marketing icon. Ron has been keynote speaker at hundreds of high-profile conferences and events around the world, reaching over 200,000 small businesses. Please welcome Ron to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that. Pretty exciting, right? Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've been down to Southern Arizona, and I'm very excited about returning, because the last time I was here, it went so incredibly well that at the end, the audience demanded an encore. Digital marketing. Most people don't view that as the most exciting thing ever. I do. Exciting, entertaining, and fun. They liked it so much they demanded an encore. They were shouting my name, begging for more. I can still hear it. More Ron, more Ron, more Ron. Thank you, Southern Arizona. I have fond memories in my heart. Yes, we're going to talk about digital marketing, and we're going to demystify it at the same time. I think it's fun, exciting, entertaining. I'm a little bit evangelistic when it comes to this. I will try to keep myself under control. Also note that this is a 3-hour workshop compressed to a 30-minute presentation just for you. Only time I would ever do that, just for you. What else can I tell you? If you're a marketing professional, I'm going to challenge some of your thinking, and you're going to learn some new things. If you're not a marketing professional, I'm going to give you some great questions to go ask your marketing team when we're done. A lot of you know me from Constant Contact. Some of you know me from when I was president of the SCORE Foundation. Here's a fun fact. I'm part of a TV show called Bar Rescue. Have you ever watched it? Heard of it? Who loves Bar Rescue? Yes. I am officially one of the experts. I'm their marketing guy. So you never see me on TV because bad tweets aren't as much fun as dirty dishes. But okay. Because we don't have a ton of time, I've actually taken the most important topics and put them on the very first slide. We're going to cover them right up front. First, we talk about how things have changed. Marketing has certainly changed because how we communicate has changed. 40 years ago, if you did an ad in the newspaper, I read it. And I know that I read it because 40 years ago, I read every page of the paper front and back every single day. I haven't done that in a while. So today, not only do you have newspapers, which are great, and magazines and radio and TV, all the things we used to have, billboards, but now we've got Twitter, X, we've got Facebook, we have video, we have YouTube. Some people still want to see a print piece arrive into their mailbox via direct mail. So I'm going to ask you right now, how many segments of your audience are you willing to ignore? None. How many can we afford to ignore? It's none. So we need to communicate in a lot of different ways today, whether it's what we grew up with or not. Second, we need to stay top of mind. We get about 3,000 marketing impressions per day per person in North America. Daily, right? So how do you cut through that? How do you stay top of mind? They will forget you if you don't. How many of you love a restaurant? You really love it, and you just forget to go there sometimes, right? There's a barbecue place in Phoenix where I live. I love it. I'd go somewhere else for dinner, come back, go, oh man, I should have gone to Crying Coyote. What if I'd got an email that day, and they had that delicious chicken sandwich in the email, a photo of it? I'd be salivating as I was driving. So staying top of mind is really, really important. Relationships matter. We know this intuitively, but there's a financial impact to this. It turns out that studies tell us people are willing to pay 67% more with you if they have the perception of a relationship with you. I'm a big skeptic. I read that and said, oh, that would never, never happen. I'm a serious tennis player. I'm not very good, but I'm very serious. And there's a store I go to all the time called All About Tennis. Now, I could shop online. I could save money on rackets and strings and shoes and balls, but I don't. Even though it costs me more, I go there because I feel like I know them. They recognize me. They, hey, Ron, how's it going? They know what kind of racket I use, what kind of strings I use. Relationships are powerful. Now, if you're a skeptic like me and you're saying, well, that's tennis, Ron. I don't play tennis, so who cares? You can go in the United States to a four-corner intersection in Tucson, and it'll have 4 gas stations. And you'll pick which one to shop at, not based on the price of the pumps or the color of the logo, but who works behind the counter. If you feel like you know them, that's where we do business. So today, we don't connect the same way that we used to. We don't know our neighbors' names anymore. We buy from the cloud. We buy from these digital entities. But yet, I've always wanted to use this word. It's the second one of the next sentence. Ready? We yearn, big word, we yearn to connect with real people. So even though we're doing it online, we want to give the impression that we're a real, living, breathing something. There needs to be a persona to your digital communications and to your marketing, so I feel like I'm connecting with something real, a real human being. How many have done your business for more than 2 years? Oh, all these are startups. Okay, those of you who have, I bet. How many nonprofits are here? How many on-purpose nonprofits are here? All right, so if you've done your business for more than 2 years, you could come up here for the next hour and tell me tale after tale where you bent over. You were insane to make a customer happy. Am I right? You've done crazy things to make members happy. Am I right? Yeah, we've done crazy things. And then what did you do with that experience? You hope they refer you. You hope they come back. Hope is not a good business strategy, right? So you've worked hard to create these fans. Empower them. Hey, you liked this? Can I quote you? Can I videotape you? Can I post this? Would you post something about us? Right? You work hard to turn them into raving fans. Use that. They are dying and eager, ready to become third-party advocates on your behalf. Let them. And if you think I'm all focused on acquisition, I'm not. When I was at Constant Contact, we did the biggest survey ever of small businesses. And we said, where does your business come from? They said 90% existing customers, 10% is new. So acquisition's 10%. We're like, great. We dug into that further. 90% of that 10% came from referrals. So most of your business, more than 90% of your business is driven by referrals, by customers you already have. So empower them to do things for you because they want to. Ready to get started? Yeah. Fun stuff. Let's get into some best practices as well. We communicate in a ton of different ways. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it. I read 12 years ago that email is dead. And that quote was picked up by every media source in the world, it seems. That quote came from Sheryl Sandberg, a lovely, amazing person. She is also the CFO of Facebook, so maybe there was a bit of conflict of interest. The reality is that email is thriving. It's the most used communication platform in the world. I know you've got a smartphone. You don't make phone calls on it. You use it for email. It's the most used app on an iPhone or an Android phone is email. We check email on the average 30 times per day. Small business owners, more than 40 times per day. Business owners, while traveling, more than 50 times per day. We are obsessed with email. 95% of us do email every single day. If you're a fine print reader, you're like, wait a minute, got you on. That's 18 to 64. Our prospects are senior citizens. They don't do email at all, right? Wrong. Fastest growing demographic by any other, by more than double over any other group as far as they're starting to use email. In a lot of cases, it's the sole reason they bought a computer or a smart device was just to do email because that's how their friends and family communicate. Think about it. In '82, you didn't hop out of bed and say, I'm going to Best Buy to buy a laptop because I want to master PowerPoint. Right, in '82, you didn't hop out of bed, right? Period. But you bought a laptop or a smart device because you want to communicate with your friends and family and with your grandchildren. And they do email, so you have to be there. So again, we need to be where our customers are. They're everywhere, but email still just rocks. 95% of us do it every day, multiple times per day. Now this crowd, I know you understand what ROI is, return on investment. But let me put it in simple terms. Email gets a higher ROI than any other form of marketing, period, more than all of social media combined. So I'm not saying not to do those other things. In fact, I'm a big advocate for using social media and all traditional forms of marketing. But leaving email marketing out of your mix, I think, is a huge mistake. This audience understands how great 43 per dollar is. You spend $1, you make 43, that's a pretty good thing. But let's put this in real human terms. What if there's a bank here in, no, make it harder. What if there was a bank in Antarctica, a new Wells Fargo branch in Antarctica, and they're having a special just for this branch. For every dollar you turn into them, they're going to hand you $43 back. I wouldn't be here. How many of you would be with me? We'd literally be chilling in the longest line in the history of the earth, to get our $43 for every dollar. And when I got that money, I'd go to the back of the line to do it all over again. Now that's average on email. Average. What's the average email like that you get? Is it amazing? Beautiful? Right time of day? Right? No, the average email is weak. The average email is not very good. So what happens if your email is done really, really well? Then your return on investment is astronomically high, almost incalculably high. After selling Constant Contact, I started a golf shoe company. I've never played golf in my life, but it seemed like a really good idea. And it turned out it was a great idea. We sold it 4 years later for an insane amount of money. A tiny boutique golf shoe company, an expensive shoe, a high-performance shoe, a technical shoe. One shoe, one model. It's Athlons with a Z. They still exist, even though we sold it. Little tiny boutique business. We ended up in 11 months with more than 32,000 people on our email list. And look, the average open rate on email, the gold standard is you hope to get up close to 30%. We're averaging about 55%. And clicks, 0.5% to 1.5% is really, really good. We're averaging almost 6%. So if the average return on investment with those terrible stats is $43 per dollar, how much was I making off of our email marketing? Literally thousands of dollars per dollar spent. About 11 times our typical daily business on the day an email went out. 11 times more business because of the email. That's why I love email marketing. Audi's pretty big. You've heard of them. Their marketing budget in North America is about $900 million. How many of you besides Wells Fargo have a marketing budget that size? Right? We wish. So they should really know how to do this well. You're going to walk out of here in 20 minutes ready and equipped to do email marketing and social media better than some of the countries and the world's most biggest brands, most famous brands like Audi. $900 million marketing budget. I got it put on their email list because I bought 2 new Audis, his and hers. I couldn't wait. I'm an email guy, right? So I couldn't wait to get my first email from Audi, and this is literally it. This is actually the one that I got 3 weeks later, and the message is, Ron, you should come in and buy this new car. I don't know about you, but I don't buy a new car every 3 weeks. Sometimes it's months before I buy new cars. And this isn't the one I bought. So now I'm second guessing my decision. Should I have got this one? So they make a huge mistake that you will not make. They don't target what they send. You need to target what you send. They're telling me they don't care about me. I just bought 2 new cars from you. What should the message be to someone who just bought 2 cars from you? Thank you. We have a really good service department. Do you have any friends like you? I say that half facetiously, but the reality is, I'm one of their customers. Who do I hang out with? People like me. So these third-party advocates on your behalf, when you ask them to forward an email or post something on social media, they're doing it to their network of people. On Facebook, we've got about 250 friends in our network. They're kind of like us typically. So when they send this message out, not only are they advocating on your behalf, they're doing it to an audience that is very like the customer that you originally sold to. So it's perfectly targeted. So we should target what we send. We should have lots of lists. Audi should have a list of people who bought a sports car, People bought a luxury car, an SUV, 2 cars. People didn't buy anything. And the message should be different for each one of those groups. Best practice-wise, let's talk about subject lines and from lines, because I know you're very excited about those, right? Subject lines, what's the best subject line? Turns out subject line is the second most important piece of your email. The from line, who it comes from, is most important. More than 60% of us decide by that whether to open it or not. Only 30% by the subject line. Now, who does it come from? It comes from me, right? So what choices do I have? Well, there's 2 pieces to from. There's the from name and the from email address. It comes from Ron Cates, ron@roncates.com. Not every email client shows both. A ton of people still use America Online email. It only shows the email address. It doesn't show the from name. Other email clients do the different. Email client is just the software you use to read your email. Outlook, Mac Mail, Gmail, those are email clients. So by default, they don't necessarily show both of those. So what if one's missing? And it comes from, in this case, from the Improv, news@improvfti.com. I don't know who that is, right? So does your email address indicate who you are? Is it your companyname.com or .net or more than 100 different TLDs now? I want it to come from a real person if that's possible. If it can't come from a real person, then a team, like marketing team or PR team or service team, have it come from something that at least gives the impression there are real people at the end, not info at, right? So 2 important pieces to the from line, your business name, and then your business name and a real person name in the email address part. The subject line. By the way, this is from the Improv. You know who they are, right? They asked me to have a look at their email, and they said, we're pretty sure our email's perfect. And the reason we say that is because it drives more business than anything we do. And we do everything. We do radio, we do call banks, we do everything. But email gets us more ticket sales than anything else. So we know it's perfect. But have a look at it. And I said, I'll make you a deal. If I find anything wrong with it, I get to use it in my presentation. So first of all, the from line's not great. Subject line. I have to take a deep breath. Mike Epps is going to sell out, so get ticks now. Plus Saturday Night Live, Weekend Update anchor, Colin Jost next week. Oh my God. The ideal subject line is 40 characters or less, and that includes spaces. I'm not going to read that, and the reality is in most email clients, this will not appear. It's going to get cut off. It's going to get truncated. So we know that shorter subject lines, 40 characters or less, get more action, but don't just do the math and throw common sense out the window. Look at it. What happens if it gets shortened? Does it have the potential to become something you don't want? All right, can't talk about this one because of the lawsuit, but Neiman Marcus sent me this email, and it's winter fashions you can't afford to miss. In my outlook, it's winter fashions you can't afford. That's truth in advertising, but probably not the message they intended. I've seen Nike do the same thing, and sadly, I saw Constant Contact do the same thing once, so we fixed that right away. So, ideal subject line, short, what's in it? What's in this for me? What's in this email? People will take action just on the subject line without even opening the email. 30% of us buy from an email we didn't open. You're like, that's crazy. You made that up, Ron. No, it's real. That same tennis store I talked about, real life example. 40% off clearance shoes this weekend only. I didn't open it. I was in line Saturday. I spent more than $200, right? So the ideal subject line tells me exactly what's in the email. It's concise, it's short, and it's to the point. How often should you send email, and how much promotional content should you include? I want to sell stuff, right? When I was at Athlons, we sent out an email. We sold a ton of stuff, so I want to do that every day. And I want it to be, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Most businesses have gotten stuck in buy my stuff. We know you sell stuff. Tell us what makes you different. You know, who's really there? Are there real people there? So how often you send and how much promotional content you send varies directly with the strength of the relationship. So if I own a tennis store, if I own Ron's Rackets, and I've got customers in there all the time, they want to know about the specials, I could send them something like this every week. I'd be excited to get it as a tennis player. I want to know about the new rackets, the new shoes, that sort of thing. Let's say she went in one time ever, 3 months ago, just to pick up some tennis balls, and she starts getting this stuff every single week. She's going to hate them. To her, they're a spammer. Don't become the accidental spammer, right? With direct mail, we've somehow become accustomed to, we get a lot of junk mail, we throw it out, we don't get mad. Email inbox we're way more protective of. And if you send it to me without permission, if I get it too often, if I don't like it, you're a spammer. And I can't even say that without making it nice, right? So I will never do business with you. I'll tell my friends not to, that sort of thing. There's the Canned Spam Act. That's the legality of spam, which has almost nothing to it. But the reality of spam is more important. The reality of spam, if I didn't ask for it, if I don't remember signing up for it, if I don't like the content, if you give it to me too often, I don't like you anymore. That's fine. So she came in just to get some tennis balls. So you've got prospects. You have at least 2 lists now, customers and prospects. Prospects, I'm going to send less often, more educational content, something like this. And this is a real email. Here's an article on how to improve your forehand. I almost don't care, almost being the keyword, how you got your list of tennis players, but it should always be permission-based. They should always sign up for it. You should never add anyone without permission. We don't have time to talk about that, or I would. Just don't do it. Don't buy a list. But no matter what, here's a really good article on how to improve my forehand. Here's a really good article on how 401ks work and what I should be doing, right? And there's no buy my stuff in there, but it works. I'm happy to get it. I read the whole thing. What's it say at the bottom? If you can't read it, it says click to continue. Where's that go? It goes to my website. Everything just changed. I can't invade their inbox with promotional content. But if they choose of their own free will to come to my website, all bets are off. Not only am I going to have the entire article on my website, but I'm going to have promotional content related to it, adjacent to it. Did you know the type of strings you use can have a big impact on the power of your forehand? Click here for string specials. Golden, absolute golden. How long should your emails be? How much stuff should be in it? This is going to delight you. They should be concise. We communicate in very concise ways today more than ever. So what's ideal? 3 photos or less, 20 lines of text. If you have a lot more to say than that, click to continue, take them to your website where they can actually buy stuff. I want them to come to my website, so that's a good thing, right? But don't try to stick it all in an email. Nonprofits typically are not good at this. I have 40 events. I'm going to list all 40 events in this email, right? We put on events. Here's 3. Click to see the rest of them. Or I sell stuff. We have 97 dresses. I want to put them all in the email. We sell dresses. Here's 2 cool ones. Click here to continue. Look at all of them. We communicate, because how many of you are over 50? I'm almost 67, by the way. So, in college, I hand wrote letters to my girlfriend who went to a different college. I hand wrote letters. Arcade Fire, we used to write letters. Anyway, so we used to write. Well, then email happened, and now we're doing it in an email, right? But it's shorter, it's more concise. That's too much work, so we started doing texting. We're texting now all day long, right? Oh, that's too much work. So now I'm using emojis to tell you everything I'm feeling and thinking, right? 3 emojis. I think you understand what I'm saying, right? We're connected. So we laugh because it is funny, but we need to communicate in a style our recipients like, our prospects and customers like, not what we grew up with. So these need to be concise and to the point. Social media, email is the original form of social media. You can send something out to multiple people, they can comment on it. The original form of social media ever is probably the backyard fence, right? You go back and talk to your neighbor, and then they go talk to other neighbors, they come back and tell you what the neighbors say. And then later, remember newspapers? They used to have a letter to the editor. You'd write a letter to the editor. The next day, people would respond to that letter, and then people would respond to the response. That's social media. That's all social media, way before there was Facebook or LinkedIn. The reason it's become important, well, let me give you an example. I have a favorite grocery store. It's Fry's. It's Fry's. If you're not a Fry's fan, it's okay. I'm not a real big fan. It's real close to my house. I can walk there. They have a lot of stuff, and it's clean, and the prices are decent. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Fry's. That doesn't happen without a cost. The fact that they have a lot of stuff, the fact that the people are friendly, and the stores are clean, that doesn't happen without a cost. There's training. They have to pay the employees. They have to educate the employees on how to be friendly, right? So there's a lot of time, money, energy, resources put into this interaction. And 10 years ago, the most they could hope for is I would leave the store and I'd be at a cocktail party and there'd be a circle of people and I'd say, I really like fries. Like, what are the chances of that happening? And how dull of a party would that be? Like the most dull party, and let's talk about groceries. But today, I can go post something on social and all of my followers see it. Hey, I went to Fry's today, it was really cool. It's clean, you know, they had a lot of stuff, I liked it. So now I'm advocating for them on their behalf, third party, and I have a lot of influence over my followers, right? 74% of us use social media to guide purchases. How many of you ever use Yelp? Right? You know Yelp? I go there, and even strangers have impact. I don't know any of these people writing the reviews, but I trust them more than I trust the owner of the restaurant to tell me about the food. So even strangers, we have about a 74% trust factor. If it's in our network, it's 90%. 43% of us purchase a product that was shared by a friend. I mean, I hope you're doing the math. I hope you got your calculators out. I have, how many people do I have on Facebook? 250, and they buy something of mine. If people talk, I'm going to get people to talk about it. I mean, I'm going to make this my living. You know, I'm going to make this my life goal now, my mission, to make sure people talk about the experience they had at a Wells Fargo branch. It was stellar. Really? Will you post that? Can I post it? Can I take a picture of you or a video of you? Average Facebook network, more than 250 friends. Do the math. This is the most powerful thing in the history of the world when it comes to marketing, when it comes to selling things. They spend more. They spend 67% more if they feel that there's a connection with your relationship. We talked about that with the gas stations and the tennis store. I'm going to dismantle every obstacle you have to doing social media. How many of you get it, but you still don't do it? Come on, let's be honest. How many of you don't do a lot of social media? Oh, good, thanks for being honest. Personally, I do almost nothing. It's all for my businesses, right? So we don't do it because there are obstacles. You don't do it because you have obstacles. I'm going to eliminate all of them. Ready? First is, I'm never going to have millions of fans, so this isn't worthwhile. Huh. We know you've got followers on Facebook. How many of them does it take to make you profitable? So the reality is, if you post something and I like it, and so I repost it, I've got a decent number of followers. But some of my followers really have a lot of followers. And some of their followers have a ton of followers. It's the viability of this that is unlike anything in history. I posted things that Howard Stern reposted. I posted, who's the CEO of Virgin? Yeah, Richard Branson reposted me once. Their reach is a little bit bigger than mine. I think that at the time, I had about 3,500, at the time it was Twitter, I had about 3,500 Twitter followers. I had reach of more than 14 million a year. I was over 14 million impressions a year because of the reposting. This is why this is so important. So you don't need millions of fans, you just need the right ones. I don't know what to say. This is totally fair. How many of you started your business because you love to write? How many of you like to write? There's always a few. Keep your hands up. Everybody else, just have them do it for you. I fix things. I'm a fixer, right? I fixed it. All right. So first of all, I'm not looking for a doctoral dissertation on X or on LinkedIn. I want you to be a real human being, and we know that you're not perfect. So write what you know about. Interaction with a customer, maybe a profile of an employee. If you're excited about some new product you just got in, post about it. You've got a new financial product? Oh my gosh, and you're excited about it? Post about it. Now, not all your posts should be promotional, so only when you're really excited about it. At that point, it's totally fair. We want to be real, authentic, transparent. So if we're excited about it, we can certainly post about it. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the best deal of the century every single day, we catch on pretty fast. You can't fake enthusiasm on social and get away with it, so don't even try. I don't know what to say. I don't have time. This is a real post. It's from a farmer's market. It's 3 a.m. Do you know where your fruit is? I typed it left-handed. It took me 7 seconds, and I'm right-handed, right? 7 seconds. You probably do have 7 seconds a day to post. So did this have any impact? The answer is yes. 48 likes. 90% of us are more likely to buy from someone if we've liked them. We're putting our reputation on the line. It's a big deal to hit the like button. 121 responses and comments. How long would it take you to review those? 2 or 3 minutes? You scroll through the comments. God, they love it when we have fresh watermelon in season. They wish we had peaches. Parking's a problem on Saturday. I didn't know that. So I could go out and pay a couple $100,000 to do a research survey, or I could just look through my feed, right? I could scroll through these comments and say, oh, I need to improve parking. It's not good enough on Saturday. I mean, the feedback alone is worth the price of entry because it costs you nothing but some time. Let's say you truly have very, very, very little time, and you only could post on Sunday night at 6 o'clock. That's your first open time slot. There are tools out there, free ones, that allow you to create your posts and schedule them to go out in the future. So I could spend my hour, so I want this going out on LinkedIn at 2 p.m. on Monday. I want this one going out on Facebook on Thursday. I love this tool. Like I said, I'm almost 67. I have 4 adult kids. I've got posts going out to them 40 years from now just to scare them. I'm still watching you. I'm very disappointed. No, I'm sorry. So this isn't as difficult as you've made it out to be. That's the bottom line. Where should you be? Everywhere. I mean, okay, when I say everywhere, there are literally more than 1,000 social media platforms today. You're not going to be on all 1,000. But you're going to pick the biggest ones, like a Facebook or an X or LinkedIn, and you're going to participate. And then your followers will let you know if there's somewhere else you need to be. Hey, this is really cool. Why aren't you guys on Reddit? Why aren't you guys here? This is how you learn. With email, some email tools actually allow you to set it up so the recipient can share the email on their social network. The recipient. So you send the email out to her, and she gets it. And she says, I like this. I'm going to put this on Facebook. Here's the cool part. That email to Constant Contact has this, so does MailChimp, so do others. You get reports on that. So you look at the report later and you say, oh, this was shared 43 times on LinkedIn. It wasn't shared on Facebook at all. I need to spend a little bit more time on LinkedIn. So invaluable tool just for that reason. Plus it improves open rates and distribution, et cetera. So I had fun. If you have any questions, let me know. But I can't wait to come back down here again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron. That was great information, very useful for everyone. We're going to take a quick break now. Get out, talk to the people who have booths out there. Go visit some Wells Fargo folks. If you need something, there's somebody there that can help you with that. Please be back in your seats around 11:45. Thank you. Let's begin our lunch program. I'd like to introduce our lunch keynote speaker, Sam Dinnicky, President, Air and Space Defense Systems at Raytheon, who will be presenting on the state of Raytheon. We're excited to hear what's going on at Raytheon, our region's largest private employer. As Sam joins us, look around on your table. There's some index cards out there. If you have any questions for Sam, we'll have a Q&A after his presentation, so write your questions down, and an ambassador will be around to pick those up at some point in time during the lunch presentation. Sam Dinnicky is president of Air and Space Defense Systems at Raytheon, an RTX business specializing in integrated air and missile defense, advanced sensors, space-based systems, hypersonics, and effectors. He has held several leadership positions within Raytheon, including Vice President of Operations and Supply Chain, Engineering, and Business Execution. In these roles, he's oversaw manufacturing and supply chain strategies, engineering design and integration, and execution of advanced defense technologies such as precision weapons, radars, and missile defense systems. Sam is also active in the community, serving on the boards of the Banner Health Advisory Council, the Boys and Girls Club of Tucson, and the University of Arizona's Industrial Advisory Board of Chemical and Environmental Engineering. Please welcome the esteemed and very handsome Sam.
That was too good. Thanks, Josh. I'll start off just a little bit of an introduction. So I'm Sam Deneke. You could probably tell why we use so many acronyms at Raytheon. It's a mouthful, all of our titles and the way we describe our systems. But my role at Raytheon is the president of Air and Space Defense Systems, and so we'll get into what that actually means and what we do in ASDS. But the other capacity that I'm here talking to you is as a very proud and a native Tucsonan. So family moved here. I've been here essentially my whole life. So we could do a roll call through the school, St. Mark's Preschool, Donaldson Elementary. But I'm a North Side guy, so CDO High School. But then went to a couple of times to U of A. So really, prepared me very well for the future in technology that I've had over the last couple of decades. So the intent of today's talk really is to walk through the state of Raytheon and really how we tie to Southern Arizona and give you a sense of what it is that we're working on, what's important to us, and how we really interact with the community. I did want to start first by recognizing the fact that it's been a number of years. I've been reminded, I think 4 or 5 times already since I've been here a couple of minutes ago, that it's been a number of years since Raytheon's been up, kind of given a state of play and what's important to the company, and particularly here in Southern Arizona. But I do want to start, recognizing the fact that Wes Kramer, who was a longtime leader here and very active in the community, he was the one that always came and represented us here. We're very sad the fact that Wes passed away last year. Unfortunately, didn't get much of a retirement from Raytheon, but certainly his presence is missed, not only at Raytheon, but also in the community here as well. All right, so diving in. So there's been a lot of change at Raytheon over the last 6 or so years. So Raytheon used to be its own standalone company up until about six years ago when we merged with United Technologies. So the new company is what you see up on the screen, and so we go by RTX, which is an abbreviation basically for Raytheon Technologies, but really it's 3 companies that are put together. So it's Collins Aerospace, which does what you might expect given the name, mostly commercial aerospace. A lot of the parts that you see on commercial airliners come from Collins. Also has a defense segment as well. Pratt & Whitney, also very aerospace oriented, known for their engines, and then also for Raytheon making up kind of that third leg of RTX. So within Raytheon, I promise I'll get off the org chart stuff here pretty quickly. But the way that we're divided up in Raytheon is into five business units. We are largely focused around our customers, meaning, when you look down at the bottom and you see naval power, that is what what it might suggest. So that business unit is really focused on doing business with the Navy, not only the U.S. Navy, but navies around the world as well. Land and Air Defense Systems is primarily Army side of things. Air and Space Defense Systems is my organization, and we'll talk through exactly what that means. We also have an advanced technology group, and that's very much focused on what are those new technologies and what are the new programs that are coming, working hand in hand with the U.S. government, really doing a lot of our investments, a lot of the key engineering technology, and bringing that, making that a reality. And then we also have think of it as a more commercial side of things on our advanced products and solutions. That's where we're not actually the prime contractor, but we sell to other primes. Giving you a sense of the size of each of these business units, we're all about $7 billion a year. So a lot of size. In my organization in particular, it's about that size, and 10,000 people spread out across the country. Our mission in Air and Space Defense Systems, our primary customer is the United States Air Force. But we also have the U.S. Space Force, Missile Defense Agency, and various air forces around the world. So we do a lot. Within ASDS, we have our space portfolio, so that's space payloads, and that's also space mission control. We have a lot of the ground-based radars, which is primarily focused in our organization in the Boston area. But then the largest area within ASTS is right here in Tucson, and that's our effectors portfolio. So when we talk, between effectors and missiles, largely they're synonymous. Sometimes they're not. It's anything that actually creates an effect. But largely it's missiles, and it's largely focused on the U.S. Air Force. So you'd have to be living under a rock to not understand what's going on in the world today in terms of the defense vulnerabilities and the evolving threats that we face in the Western world. And so there's been a number, unfortunately, of incidents that have really brought that home. Certainly Ukraine has drug on far longer than any of us thought that it would. Also what's going on in the Middle East and what has been going on over the last couple of years. And really the overlay for all of that is the peer competition that the United States has with China. And so it's all about focusing on those critical threats and what China's doing to really eclipse the United States in terms of their capability. And if it ever, God forbid, got to a shooting war, making sure that we are capable and ready for that to give our warfighters, we like to say, an unfair advantage. There's three things, you can bucket it into three things. And largely this is about what China specifically is doing. The pace at which China is moving is much, much faster than the pace at which the U.S. defense industrial base has been moving. We have largely been on a peacetime footing over the last couple of decades, which is fantastic. But China has made it their mission to evolve their capabilities and stockpile as much as they possibly can, just in case there's actually a fight. It's not only the pace of how they're equipping themselves, but it's also the speed at which they innovate. It's been much faster. It's been, quite frankly, to the point where it's gotten a lot of people's attention. Anytime we go we call it behind the wall when we go classified and have some of these threat briefs, it really gets your attention given the major leaps that China's made in the last decade or two and continues to make. And then really the reality when you're talking about the United States and where a potential conflict would be of the distances that you're talking about. It's a lot different when you've got a conflict that's really centered close to your home versus if conflict were to erupt over Taiwan. And so it's a lot about distances and thinking about things very differently than we have in the past. So if you work in the industry, you know exactly what this is. If you don't, probably takes a little bit of explaining. These are the kinds of things that we look at routinely. It's called an OV1. But for the purposes here, we call it the integrated engagement chain. And it's really a way to visualize how a conflict might go down. What are the key and critical things that are important when you're ensuring that, again, our warfighters have an unfair advantage. And so this one really is focused on my portfolio, Air and Space Defense Systems, and it tells you about all of the technology that we've got and kind of how it all plays together. So it really starts with sensing, and the sensors specifically both on the ground, and you can see that down on kind of the lower left, those big monoliths, and then also up in the space domain. So satellites and the mission control that goes along with that. You probably read about the fact that space domain is taking on a much more important role in defense these days, and that's absolutely true. And it's all about how do we get this information where it needs to go. Not only are we sensing what's going on with the adversary, but also how do we get that information down to where it needs to be such that our warfighters can actually do something with it. So you have sensing, you have the comms, and then those little things that are flying around, generally that's Tucson. So when you look at that, that's generally what we do here in Tucson. So those are the effectors that actually do something with all that data. We're sensing it, we're transmitting it, we're fusing those signals, and then we're actually doing something with it. And so that's where Tucson generally comes into play, is with those effectors. Going into some of the programs here, so we're very proud of what we call franchise programs at Raytheon. And so when you think about franchises, those are the multi-decade programs that have been around for a long time, and our goal is to keep them around as long as they possibly can. We have generations, no exaggeration, generations of Tucsonans that have paid the bills, paid for college, their kids' college, paid for health care, bought homes based on the wages that they've earned working at Raytheon, supporting a program like AMRAAM. So this program has been around. We just signed a contract this year for almost $3.8 billion, and we call it Lot 38. So that indicates 38 years of production of this missile. It's not the same missile. We are evolving the capabilities. It's far from what it was 38 years ago. We're talking about the fifth generation. So it's all about evolvement of those capabilities to make sure that it's still relevant. But this is one of the ones, the prime points of pride that we have here, Raytheon and Tucson, with franchise programs like AMRAAM. Again, we love acronyms at Raytheon. We can't do without them. I don't think we can have a sentence without actually using an acronym, but this one specifically is Advanced Medium Range Air-to-Air Missile, and so it gives you a sense of what it does. Air Force customer, 40 customers around the world, really the most preeminent air-to-air weapon that's ever been produced at this point. So the next one is called NASAM. So when you read about what's been going on in Ukraine and you read about the unrelenting attacks that Russia's been prosecuting on Ukraine, so much of it has been air attacks, right? I mean, it's been drones, it's been incoming missiles, even hypersonics missiles. So this is one of the most critical systems that's actually been protecting Ukraine and knocking those Russian threats out of the sky. So NASAMS really is the system. It takes that AMRAAM missile as the thing that actually shoots out and intercepts the incoming threat, and also the AIM-9X missile, which is another air-to-air missile that we repurposed to a ground application, also built here in Tucson. But some of my proudest moments is when we get into these briefings and we understand how our systems and our products have actually done. So NASAMS itself is over 95% effective in Ukraine. And so you think about how many hundreds of missiles and how many lives have been saved in Ukraine based on this system and the effectiveness of what largely has been designed and built in Tucson. Those are the kinds of things that really, you talk about the connection to the mission, why most of us do what we do, why we're attracted to this work, and why we've stayed in this industry. It's stuff like that. NASAMS also, we just found out that Ukrainians were able to down 11 cruise missiles, incoming cruise missiles from Russia in less than 2 minutes. So I mean, that kind of capability to again protect infrastructure and save lives is the thing that really motivates us at Raytheon, and again is the reason that we do what we do. Stormbreaker is another product in our portfolio. So we talk about franchise programs, we talked about AMRAAM, we talked about the fact that AMRAAM's been around for over 30 years at this point. This is one of our newest franchise programs, and so we're extremely proud of this program, specifically the technology that was developed in Tucson. And so the technology associated with this particular product is eye-watering. It gives the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy capability that they've been needing for decades. And again, this is homegrown, developed in Tucson, built in Tucson, sold to customers out of Tucson, and is a franchise program that 20, 25, 30 years from now, somebody else will be up here on stage talking about the generations of families that supported themselves working on the Stormbreaker product. So Standard Missile, maybe the most well-known product family out of Raytheon. So Raytheon's been here in Tucson for 70 years. I think Standard Missile's been around for 50 or 60 or so. But it's a family of weapons. And so again, back to that continual evolvement of the capability. That's not just static and then you just go move on to the next thing. Started with a base Standard Missile. They actually called it Standard, which is probably the least sexy name that you can think of for a missile. But it's stuck, right? So it's SM2, it's SM3, and it's SM6, all very different missions. But the one thing that is common amongst them all is it's protecting our warfighters, it's protecting the U.S. homeland, it's providing air and missile defense, and it's playing a critical role in the defense of our nation. These programs, again, franchise programs, been around for decades. We continue to evolve them, highly critical to the U.S. government and in any concept of operations that we have for conflict. Okay, so we're back to the OV1 or the engagement chain. We've walked through the effectors and some of the big things that we do here in Tucson, and so maybe it just puts it a little bit more perspective where we are and where Tucson fits. Tucson is the biggest missile manufacturer site in the world. It is considered a national asset. It's considered a national treasure by many. And quite frankly, within this company, I will tell you that Raytheon Tucson is the center of the universe. So great big Fortune 50 company focused on all sorts of cool stuff. And Tucson itself is the center of the universe within the company right now. So one of the things that you may have read about in online or in your various sources of news is that the U.S. government has realized that they do not have enough munitions for the conflicts that we've been facing. We've gone through what's been going on in Ukraine with that conflict, but then also in the Middle East and the conflict between Iran specifically and Israel. And without getting into specifics, the numbers of munitions that we had to use to defend our ships, to defend our bases in the region, versus the number that we have is really sobering. It'll get your attention. And so the big focus out of Washington, there's a lot of things that's going on right now. They're talking about Golden Dome. They're talking about all sorts of priorities. But the biggest priority out of Washington, out of the Pentagon right now is the surge in what they're calling critical munitions. So there's 10 munitions that are on that list. 6 of them are in Tucson. And so to give you a sense of what we're talking about and the growth that we're going to see in some of these programs, they're talking about historic numbers that have never been achieved before. These are 2 or 3 times the max annual production rate that we've ever seen. Talked about the $3.6 billion that we booked this year for AMRAAM. There's a real possibility that number could reach $10 billion by the end of the year, just in a single year. Similar things going on with the Standard Missile Factory or Standard Missile Family, and then also for Tomahawk. And so the reason that I mention all of this, again, is back to this whole, Tucson is the center of the universe for a lot of this stuff that you're reading about and national priorities. And our interaction with and support from the community is absolutely critical for us being able to get this job done. So diving into a little bit of the impact. So Raytheon, I do think this is a little bit conservative, but we certainly, one of the big things within Raytheon is our focus on the supply base. So a lot of what we do comes into us, suppliers that are making raw material, they're making into machine parts, into electronics, and we're integrating them into the final products. But we have over 500 suppliers just in the state of Arizona, with contracts totaling, at a minimum of $2.5 billion. So give you a sense of how far that ecosystem spreads, and the fact that, what's going on at Raytheon in Tucson also has huge benefits even outside the 4 walls at Raytheon, and then also in the state of Arizona. We take great pride in our people. Our people are what is our true discriminator. It's not about the equipment that we've got. It's not about anything other than the fact that we like to say, and I think I've got ground to stand on, that we have some of the smartest people in the world that not only we're developing here in Tucson, or that we're bringing from around the country to come live here in Tucson and be a part of this mission. So we'll get into, the next slide will talk through, details about what are the roles that we have at Raytheon. But it's all about the people, and it's not just about the people that work at Raytheon. It's about the community. It's about the husbands. It's about the wives. It's about the quality of life that you're able to offer the families such that people can come and do their best work at Raytheon. So primarily we are an engineering company, and so the majority of folks that we've got about 13,000 people that we employ in Raytheon in Tucson at this point. And the majority of those folks are engineering. So it's the technologists that we bring, not only doing the new designs and bringing that new technology to bear, but also supporting production in the production requirements that we've got in our factories. That's where operations comes in because, again, we're not just a design house. We don't just do the engineering here in Tucson. We actually produce all of the rounds here in Tucson as well. So the operation folks are critical. These are the folks that are in the factories that are actually putting together the product and getting it out to our customer. But it's more than just that, right? It's all of it. It's the administrators, it's the HR folks, it's the finance folks, it's all of it that we need to actually keep ourselves in business here and keep ourselves on top. So as you can see, it takes across the entire spectrum really of professional roles, and then also on the manufacturing roles. And one of the things that we're proud of, right, is that it's not just the high end. We're not just hiring the expert engineers, but we're hiring custodians. We're hiring manufacturing technicians. We're hiring test technicians. We're hiring the folks that do the HVAC and supporting really that entire ecosystem at Raytheon here in Tucson. So we are incredibly proud of, and I will also say incredibly thankful for the community here in Southern Arizona and the partnerships that we have. At one point it was true, I think it still is true, that the University of Arizona has more employees at RTX Corporation. Again, 200,000 employees, the most, I always have a hard time spitting this out, but the University of Arizona has the most graduates of those 200,000 within the company. So U of A specifically is hugely important to us. The support that we get from U of A, the focus on the curriculum that we need and graduating folks that have the skills that we actually need to come out and be successful, the partnerships that we have on internal research and development, the partnerships that we have not only at the state level and the federal level, mutually beneficial to both the university and also to the company. Extremely proud of and extremely thankful. U of A is very, very responsive, and honestly, I think they lead the way. They're better than we are in terms of that partnership and always making sure that they're looking out. Similarly, had the conversation before it came up on stage here. Pima Community College has been very focused on our needs as well. If you can believe it, some of the hardest jobs that we have to fill are on those manufacturing technicians, the machinists, the folks that come out with the electronics technology type degrees. And Pima has been right there, sometimes ahead of us, helping to define those needs and making sure that they're contributing to the workforce that we need to be successful. So very proud, very thankful of what specifically the region and then the colleges and the universities have been able to do working with us towards a common goal. Very focused on the community here in Southern Arizona. It's something that we encourage. It's something that we give people time to actually go do. I think last year was somewhere on the order of 40,000 hours contributed by Raytheon employees volunteering at some of the organizations that you see up listed on the right side of the screen. As you might imagine, we're very focused on STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math. And making sure that we have the next generation of technologists that are coming up through the ranks, making sure that we're focused on not just the traditional avenues, but folks that come from different backgrounds and being able to demonstrate that, hey, this is what you do with it, and not only do you have tremendous opportunity for you, but there's a path for you to get from where you are now to some of these roles. So we are certainly focused in certain areas with respect to our community giving, but it is a huge deal for us. And again, really encouraged that we are a member of the community and that we're giving back because we get so much from Southern Arizona. And so really looking forward to the questions. Hopefully we saved a significant amount of time, but really it's been too long since Raytheon's kind of been up on the stage talking about what's important and kind of the state of play for the largest private employer in Southern Arizona. But really I wanted to end again, I've woven it through the discussion, but a note of gratitude for the partnership from Southern Arizona, all that everybody in this room and in the region does to make us successful. We like to think we have the most noble mission, and that it's easy to line up with the mission that we have, but it wouldn't be possible without the support of the community. And so I'd like to end just with a thanks. Good.
Thank you, Sam.
Do we? Good.
We've got plenty of time, absolutely. So if you've still got questions, you haven't written them down, maybe take time to write them down if they come to you while we're going through these questions. I really liked the way that you put together. I continuously brag to everyone outside of Tucson and inside of Tucson, our pathway or pipeline of education, starting with JTED, moving through Pima, up through university, covering the spectrum. Really like that slide. So I've got some questions here. Number one, if you could advise global policymakers today, what is the single most urgent step they should take to prepare for defense? For defense. I think that's what that says. I'm having a hard time on that one.
I feel like I could just take that one because I don't really know what, I wasn't tracking. So starting with an easy one.
To prepare for AI in defense, sorry.
Oh, AI.
There we go.
Oh, so we started out real tough. No warm up?
No.
Okay.
Dive straight into the future.
Yeah, so AI, I think companies are trying to figure that out at this point, and some are more advanced than others. We certainly have the additional, I would say, complication when it comes to AI because of what we do, and especially with the munitions. And so, to this point, these are not decisions that we make within industry, by the way. These are decisions that the U.S. government makes. And so the focus has always been on having what we call a human in the loop, and that means that a human is actually making that decision as to when to push the button. But what we're doing with AI is we're integrating AI in to help fuse data, to take big data, to take data down from space. It's just tremendous amounts, and make that decisionable to actually provide the human in the loop with that decision-making capability. We've partnered with a number of different companies, to bring AI into how our systems work, to make them more effective, to make them more efficient. I think the question was about policy and policymakers. I think it's really just about supporting and getting to that point where it's clear what the bar is for the integration of AI into defense systems is where they really need to set that bar.
Well, if you thought that one was difficult, get out your crystal ball, because the next one asks, how do you see AI reshaping global defense 5 to 10 years from now?
Well, it is going to reshape it. There's no doubt that AI and the tools that brings, again, it's all about the efficiency. There are certain things that we can't do now. We can visualize, but we can't do because we can't process that amount of data and be able to make decisions. We can't make things easier for the folks that are actually making those decisions. So I do think that you're going to see generally lower costs coming out of the defense industry as we proliferate systems that are more reliant on AI, that are less reliant on humans in the loop. But it's all got to come with those safeguards as well.
Yeah. And if you can elaborate somewhat along those same lines, how are you, and I assume this means Raytheon, but you could tell us what you too are also preparing for in regard to adapting to adversaries that are deliberately trying to deceive our AI models?
Well, that's what we do. I mean, that's the unfortunate it's the unfortunate way that this works. It's always, understanding what the adversary is doing and what they're doing to counter your capabilities. And so it's kind of this continual building on capabilities as you go. And so I think it's less about deceiving our AI and more about the developments of their own AI and the way that they would attack this. But certainly that's part and parcel. That's what we do, is take in those threat briefings, understand what the adversaries know, what they're doing in counter to some of the things that we've got from a technology perspective, and continuing to build on that. It is a big deal, and it's a big problem for us. It's the famous line every Raytheon person always says about, can't talk about what we do out there, but that situation is real because our adversaries are out very, very aggressively trying to collect information and knowledge about our technology to be able to defeat it. So,
And I think you addressed this one in your presentation. The Defense of War Department just said our inventory of weapons is very low. We need to ramp up quickly. Is Raytheon part of that buildup? It sounded like we are, but if you wanted to elaborate any more.
Yeah, it's quite frankly where we spend where we're spending the majority of our time right now is the back and forth as to what's possible here in the near term. I did mention the fact that we're talking about double and tripling rates on some of these key munitions that I had on the slide. We have 60% of the key munitions. Lockheed has the other 40%, but it's all out right now. And the what we've been repeatedly told and where we're operating now is, we're not on a peacetime footing. We have to be on a wartime footing, similar to World War II, to be ready. And so that's throwing out the old ways of doing business. You can't be so process heavy. You gotta leverage AI. You gotta leverage all the new tools. Because it's not just a multiplication of the current infrastructure and process that you've got now. It's doing things differently to be able to get to the rates that we need to here in the very short term.
Yeah, and this, similarly, how are emerging and evolving global threats impacting new Raytheon technologies?
Yeah, so it's really a mix of things. It's not only the replenishment that we're talking about and the fact that, quite frankly, we need more faster, but we also need better and we need different. And so, we have that whole group that's focused on what's next coming down the line, that's taken in these threat briefings and understanding, again, what the adversary is trying to do. And what is our counter to that? What are the capabilities that we need to develop? And again, these are not capabilities that we need 10 or 15 years from now. These are capabilities that we need within the next couple of years. So really it's a mix, given the seriousness of the situation and what's been going on in the world over the last couple of years, that there's a sense of urgency around both.
With that increase, with increased demand in product, the increased demand in technology, what would you say the biggest factors are when you look at deciding where to expand RTX as a whole, and what can Tucson do to make sure that we're on the list for that expansion, whatever it might be?
Yeah, that's a good question. And when I talk about community partnership, and when I talk about Southern Arizona being a place that people want to live, we do have an incredible focus on home growing our own talent. As I mentioned, with the University of Arizona, all three of the state schools and surrounding schools, but also the biggest thing is making Southern Arizona, a business friendly place to be, and also, a really fantastic place for families to live. We do very well recruiting in the southwestern region and western states, where people understand, understand what it is to live in a place like Arizona. We do less well, when we're recruiting from the Northeast and some of the bigger city environments. But the folks that come here, and almost without question, when they come here and they get integrated in the community and they know what lifestyle we have to offer here, it is something that they adapt to really well. But it's the continued focus on kind of that standard of living, and what makes Tucson and Southern Arizona special is the biggest thing that can help us, I think.
You tell them about the sun, right? Because I'm from Chicago, and it's cold there. It's much better here.
I'm constantly talking about humidity and humidity levels and all that stuff. And I'll tell you, going to DC in the summertime, I'd rather be in Arizona all day long than walking around DC in the summertime. But people don't get that. They just see the temperatures and think that's it.
This is a great question. I know that there's a lot of business leaders out here, a lot of business owners, and maybe some people that don't own that business yet, but they've got that idea in their head. So when you talked about delivering more faster, what have you learned about scaling operations quickly that you could share with the group?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and that's where we struggle, is in the culture that you have to adapt and you have to do things differently. That what got you here isn't what's going to get you there. So, for anybody starting their own business or wanting to be a part of this journey, the desperation at this point, and I don't think that's too strong of a word, is for those ideas. What are those innovative and creative ideas about how to do things differently? That I would say would be my biggest focus.
Along those lines, where do you see the greatest opportunities for a small or local business to plug into Raytheon supply chain?
Yeah, we do realize that can be hard, given the fact that we're not just a local company and are a big corporation. But we do actively search for those small businesses. A lot of our contracts with the government do give us, part of their way that they evaluate our proposals is on small business content. And so we're always very active out in looking for those small businesses that can contribute and want to kind of join the supply base there. So there are opportunities, and quite frankly, we get a lot of benefit from that as well.
That's the product side, material side of things. This question addresses the human side. From the increase in production and the increase in need, how are you handling employment, hiring with the increased demand, and are you fully staffed? How would a person get involved with recruitment for Raytheon?
Yeah, so we're not fully staffed. I mean, we are always hiring in Tucson. That's one of the truisms. It's just at what levels. We went through a massive surge where I think we hired 5,000 engineers, with the majority of them being in Tucson just a couple of years ago. So we certainly are hiring in Tucson. Where we're trying to figure out, the biggest determinant of how big that hiring is going to be really is going to be around this munitions replenishment that we're talking about, when things start to settle out. And we come to agreement with the government on what those rates are going to look like and what those production values actually are going to be. Then we'll have to staff to that. The only thing I know at this point for sure is that more questions. The only thing that I know for sure at this point is that we don't have everybody we need right now to go hit some of these rates that we're talking about. We are very active in terms of recruiting fairs and those opportunities. Obviously, everybody can submit their application online. A lot of these jobs are in Tucson, and so if you're in Tucson and you want to get involved here, generally you have a leg up because you'll have preference over somebody that may be coming from another area in the country.
Laura, are you sorting these? Because I feel like these questions just flow right into the next question. This one is, what makes Raytheon a great place to work? Well,
so I think everybody has their own answer to that. For me, it's always been the connection to the mission. I started at Raytheon. I was a chemical engineering student at the University of Arizona. Didn't have any intention of joining Raytheon. I was going to go work at petrochemical or something like that I was actually trained to go do. But I got a co-op here, and to me, it's all about that mission that I keep talking about. And so every job becomes a job, right? No matter what you're doing. I think even professional football players get tired of the grind sometimes. But that piece of it really is what keeps a lot of us when we do employee surveys and we're looking to understand how to attract and also retain people. It's that connection to the mission and the importance of what we do and being a part of that generally comes out number one. I mean, we can go through, I think we have great benefits. It's certainly, the compensation at Raytheon is really, really good given what we do and the types of people that we hire. But that connection to the mission really, I think, is the thing that stands out more than anything.
This one flips the script a little bit. As you mentioned, the expansion, the production, the manufacturing that maybe some people didn't even know took place right here in Tucson. What's the environmental impact of Raytheon, and what are you doing to promote sustainability and resource stewardship before and now and in the future?
Yeah, it is. It is one of our goals that we all get judged by. We actually have targets for reductions in environmental footprint impacts. This company, I described this company that we're in, and probably the largest impact that we have from an environmental standpoint is those jet engines that we've got, and so that's where we have tremendous investment in making those greener, less of an impact. But it's stronger than a goal. It's more of a commitment that actually our compensation is tied to hitting those environmental targets that we have.
I'll go off cuff just a little bit and say that it feels like AI, as we talked about throughout the day, plays an incredible role in our ability to become more environmentally friendly, sustainable. We can pinpoint exactly what we're doing with AI, try and learn from things, et cetera. So it'll be exciting to see how that gets.
Yeah, it's exciting. All the new tools. I mean, it's getting better and better. Not only to forecast, but providing different options that you've got for different ways of doing things. And in this case, one of the things you optimize around is on having less of an impact.
Yeah. So last question: what does the future hold for Raytheon here? Well,
I will tell you without hyperbole. I mean, we've been here for 70 years, and it's only more and better here. I keep using the phrase center of the universe, but I really do believe it. I mean, given the technology that we have here, given the footprint, given the eye-watering capability that comes out of this place, it's going to be more rather than less as we look to the future.
Thank you, Sam. Let's give Sam another round of applause.
Thanks. Good job.
Thank you, Sam. Really appreciate everything that you had to say. I will let Joe come up and close us off. Thank you, everybody. Wells Fargo, thanks for coming out. Come talk to us if you need anything. Really appreciate it.
Wow, that was great. Thank you, Sam. I can tell you we at the Chamber really appreciate Raytheon. You're right, you're a national asset. I actually have a sign in my office that says, "What have you done for Raytheon today?" And true story, because we're a top 5 market. We have the 5th highest critical mass of aerospace and defense workers in the country because of Raytheon. And I don't know about you, but when I moved here, I looked at this community, and I think without Raytheon, I don't know what we would be, but I wouldn't have moved here because the impacts that Raytheon has on this community are tremendous. So I thank you, and we are continuing to ask every day, what can we do for you? We're here for you. We appreciate your investment. We appreciate everything you do for us. With that, I want to thank all of our speakers today for sharing their insights and their advice. I hope you learned something. I sure did. I thought it was very valuable. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, exhibitors, and you, the attendees, for taking really a half day out of your time to make this, I hope, a success. Before you go, please, as I said before, scan the QR code on your table, because we want your feedback. See what we did right and what we did wrong and how we can improve. So with that, I want to thank you for your time today and wish you Godspeed, and we'll see you at the next event. So thank you. Good afternoon.